and there's plenty to talk about in that game. It wasn't the best day at the office, but regardless, we are still fighting for Champions League and there's still plenty to smile about. We're not used to these days, but anyway, the Arsenal match vlog's coming up, Newcastle fans, so make sure you stick around. Ho, here we go, Newcastle fans. Welcome back to Black and White Banter. It's match day, I'm making the walk, and for the first time in what is, I can't even tell you how long, we are taking part in what is a huge game at the right end of the table. I haven't felt like this going into a match for so long, because these kind of games have always been relegation scraps, like we need to win to improve them chances of staying up, and obviously a couple of times that hasn't happened. You're going back to the Pardew season, when we were challenging for Champions League, and then obviously further back than that, the Bobby Robson era, which I'm lucky enough to remember for days like this. Title chasing Arsenal come to St. James's, we're going for Champions League. It's huge. I've just watched a bit of Arsenal Fan TV, the very well-known Arsenal Fan TV. They're bricking it. They're travelling down. I watched their video in the car. They're actually calling us the favourites. I think a lot of neutrals might be because of the form that we're in, and Arsenal have been a bit shaky lately. Look, it's huge. I talked in the preview about how much the crowd can play a part today. It's got that feel to it. Bank holiday Sunday. I'm going to sink a few beers now. I'm actually earlier than normal for once. I'm going to get over to St. James Park without rushing. Something must be weird. Probably maybe it's a bad omen. But yeah, I'm fully fancying us today. Even if we've got a draw, it's not a bad result. But why would you bet against this team? Scarves are going to be flying out. Crowd's going to be absolutely bouncing. They're going to be bricking it. Can we put in the performance that we've seen against Man United, Man City, Tottenham, when all these teams have come, Chelsea? We've battered them, we've played them off the park. If we can play like that today, I wouldn't bet against us. However, lads, wow. I've just landed in Newcastle. Team news is out. Eddie Howe has sprung a massive surprise. He's gone for Wilson and Isak together. I think a lot of fans wanted that to happen. I just didn't expect it to happen. Now, I'm looking, Longstaff hasn't made it, which I'm pretty devastated about in this game, if I'm being totally honest with you. I think maybe Eddie Howe's been forced to bring Isak in because he would have gone Joe Linton and Willock on the left-hand side. Willock's now moved into that first three with Isak on the left. But hey, this is going to be really interesting to see what them two can do together from the start, because Isak on the left, when he's been moved over there, has been electrifying. So if he can repeat that from the first whistle today, I'm all for it. And we could be looking, if he can do something good out there and affect the game as we've seen he has, we could be looking at something moving forward that Eddie Howe might stick with. So that's the big surprise. I am gutted about Longstaff. We've got options off the bench though. I cannot wait to get in there. The sun is shining. I'm just about to go and sink a pint, get up to the ground, soak up what will be a fantastic pre-match atmosphere. I just cannot wait. I've got a weird nervy, I've already had a nervy poo. I've got that vibe today because this is one of them big games that just you'd have to enjoy as a football fan. Can the boys do it? Come on! Lovely day for it. We started exactly like I wanted us to start, but I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it now. VAR, right, is a fucking disgrace. I've seen the decision at half time. The referee has taken 4 minutes to look at it. If you're going to use VAR, regardless of whether it was or it wasn't, if this clear and obvious, because if the referee's taken 4 fucking minutes to look at it, how is it a clear and obvious mistake that penalty shouldn't have been given? And he's looking at it. When he walked away from that screen, he still wasn't sure. He didn't give the signal straight away, and it's an absolute joke. I don't know whether the Premier League's corrupt, but that VAR decision changed the game. We were in it from that point onwards. We were first 15 minutes we were destroying them. They didn't have any of the ball. We started exactly like I wanted, and that changed it. The way the game's gone on, their goal, we should have got out of it faster. It wasn't a very good goal to concede. Nick Pope's kept us in it, but we've had fucking chances. Jacob Murphy's hit the post. Willock probably should have scored. The score could be 4-2. So it's exactly like I expected it to, end to end. Nick Pope, that's why I love having a tall goalkeeper. He's done really well with the saves he's made with his big body. We haven't been great with the ball from them scoring onwards. We were a little bit more sloppy. Passing it out from the back's been a bit sloppy. Trippier's balls into the box have been a bit sloppy. Fingers crossed for more in the second half, because it's the VAR that's left that half-time beer tasting pretty sour to me. And I really hope we can just push on, because there is goals in this game for us. Arsenal don't like the way we play. We've been all over them in parts of that first half of Rush. So let's see what we can do. We've got Maxi to come off the bench. Away the lads. Just before we start this one, he has warned us he's had a couple of pints, but it's Bank Holiday Sunday, so rightfully so. Disappointing day at the office. I'll touch on the VAR decision in a second, but what were your thoughts on that?
Well, we're still going to finish above first, right? There's still going to be 21 teams in the league, we're still going to finish above first. But if decisions go your way, then it would have been different. We'll start off class, and then we'll let them settle down. And then they just took control of the game. Just
for a bit of clarity, we have spoken before, haven't we, where the comment was that we were going to finish above first.
We're still going to finish above first.
Champions League, obviously, last week, after 3 wins in a week, we were all saying, yeah, it's ours. Are you still confident of that? Or
we're going to win the Champions League. We're going to be above first in the Champions League. Obviously, Real Madrid.
This man loves above first.
We're going to be above first. I just spoke to the Real Madrid manager, right, and he's scared. He's went on the sick now, I think.
Right. They aren't looking for Eddie Howe, are they?
No, Stephen Thompson, Frankfurter on Facebook.
There you go, get him added now. He's giving you his details there. Right, I'm just joined by Bill, just outside St. James Park now as well. Bill, we're not used to this. We're not used to this losing games, not even scoring goals at St. James Park, especially more recently. What do you think went wrong today for Newcastle?
I knew it would be tough today. I knew it would be tough for them. I knew Arsenal would come out fighting. But I think we'll let the midfield slip a little bit. I think we'll let them move through midfield quite well. And I think we missed Sean Longstaff a little bit as well, his hard running.
Yeah.
And I think once we had the VAR decision against us, I think we lost it a little bit. We lost our heads. And then we let them run through midfield, and Odegaard scored that goal as well. So I think we lost concentration a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Arsenal were a good outfit.
Yeah.
They came here with a mission after last season when we outplayed them completely.
Well, I thought Arsenal, compared to the Arsenal we saw last season coming here under pressure, and a lot of people made comparisons before this game, I think they looked a lot more, when they were 2-0 up, a lot more compact and stronger defensively for me.
Even when they were 0-0, I mean, they were fighting much harder than last season, much harder. They were tackling hard, blocking, and I just think we just lacked a bit of finesse in midfield. You know, I thought Bruno had a very quiet game, very quiet.
Agreed.
And I think he might be carrying an injury. And I think the season's catching up with him a little bit.
I thought against Southampton on Sunday he actually apologised on Twitter after the Southampton game. He thought that wasn't his best day, and we've seen a couple of them now. And I think, similar to when we missed him in the Cup, just before the Cup final, when he was suspended for 3 games, when he's not pulling the strings in midfield, we do suddenly lack that creative spark.
Yeah, no, he definitely was off the pace today. And one of the Arsenal lads who was on the pace today was Odegaard, or if you know who I mean.
Odegaard, yeah.
He played well, he drifts well, and I think he just dominated our midfield.
And I'm getting a little bit worried now. Obviously Liverpool have won 6 games in a row.
Yeah.
We've now lost. We've got Leeds next week, which is a huge game, Big Sam's first home game.
Yeah.
Can we still get over the line in the Champions League in your opinion or not?
I think we can. We need 2 wins now out of 4 because we've got a superior goal difference to Liverpool, much superior.
Yeah.
I think the Brighton and Leicester games at home are going to be absolutely crucial.
Tasty.
I think we can take something from Leeds as well, but with Big Sam going in, it's always going to be tricky. So I think it's down to Brighton and Leicester for us.
And whilst it feels very doom and gloom today after because we're not used to losing, there's still plenty to smile about as a Newcastle fan, isn't there?
Plenty to smile about. 5 losses over the whole season, absolutely.
Yeah.
You would have taken that last season. And it's strange, we've lost every single game, I think, 2-0, haven't we? I was just thinking about that there.
Liverpool away 2-1.
Oh, 2-1, you're right.
And then 2-0 at
2-0s.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's just catching up with us a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd take where we're
Not
at.
bad over the case
I
of
would
the season.
take where we're at.
I've been joined by Joe as well. Joe, we're not used to these days, this thing called a loss at St. James's Park. What were your initial thoughts on today's game?
Well, to be honest, I don't think it was anything to do with the team. Thought we played all right, you know. It's just the impact of a shit referee, to be honest. You know, shit referee, couple of bad decisions. Should have got a pen at the start. Should have got a pen near the end as well, and couple of bad decisions. I think we played well, but could have maybe done a little bit better in the attacking half, and they just broke through quite easily. So maybe a few mistakes, but you know, I didn't think we played badly.
So before I touch on that VAR decision, Isak and Wilson started the game for the first ever time. How do you think that combo worked? Did you like that or not?
I like seeing Isak on the wing. I think he is more of a winger. I prefer him to Maxi because Maxi, he's a good dribbler, but he can't really finish half the time. But Isak is good at, he's got good like end product, and I'm happy with Wilson in the middle as well. He's a good finisher. So I think they played well, but against Arsenal it's hard to judge. So maybe against a little bit of a less team, then yeah, I think it would have been better.
Well, as I've just said to a couple of fans there, we're not used to this losing at St. James's Park thing. We're not used to this not scoring goals at St. James's Park thing. And I think before we get into any negatives and before I get into any rants about a couple of things that I do want to rant about, that's probably worth mentioning at the start. There's still plenty to be positive about as a Newcastle fan, because we don't get many of these days, and we haven't had many of these days. It's been a fantastic season. We've just been beaten by a team that's been top of the league for most of the season. We started exactly like I wanted this Newcastle team to start. In the faces, pressing hard. Ramsdale didn't want it. Ben White didn't want it. Gabriel didn't want it. And we were all over them. Murphy's hit the post. And that penalty, if it had been given at that time, would have completely changed this game. It wasn't. We then went on. The goal we conceded, it wasn't good enough. We weren't out of that quick enough. I'm sorry, we weren't. I've watched that one back as well at half time. He was in too much space, Odegaard. It's a good strike, but Nick Pope, the size he is as well, you could maybe argue shouldn't be getting beaten from there. So that was disappointing. When that goal goes in, we backed off a little bit. We looked a little bit more scared. But having said that, I said before this match, we can't compare too much to the Arsenal that we played last season. They were more compact today. They were more up for it today. Maybe with a bit of revenge on last year in sight as well, but obviously a title race that they're fighting for. So there's a couple of factors there. They were much better. But generally speaking, we were much better. I'm starting to get used to that, people popping their heads in the videos when I'm recording here. That's always nice. So first half we huffed and we puffed, but from that first goal we were a little bit quieter. Half time I expected us to come out a little bit better, and I'll be totally honest with you, the second half we just never really got going. The second goal, I haven't watched that one back. That looked very unfortunate of Fabian Schär. But I just thought, I talked about us playing like we did against Man U and against Tottenham and against Chelsea earlier in the season, and that would have got us over the line today. We didn't really do that. We weren't at that level. I thought we started the game at that level, but that dropped off. And again, I'm going to go back to that penalty decision. That would have changed it, and I think that would have kept us in that place. And Arsenal grew into the game, and Arsenal are a very, very good footballing side. They could have had lots of chances today. Nick Pope's had a fantastic game. A save from Martinelli, a save from Saka. That's why I love having a tall goalkeeper. But we've had a chance when Willock should have probably done better. Murphy's hit the post. There's a one when Isak in the second half cut it back for Willock, I think it was, and a fantastic last-ditch slide tackle from Arsenal has stopped that one going in. So there was moments there where you maybe need a bit of luck on your side. You need that Murphy chance to maybe ricochet and bounce off the goalkeeper and go into the back of the net. But all of this comes back for me to that VAR decision. I'm saying that because it's going to make my beers on this Bank Holiday Sunday taste a bit sour, because I think we've been beaten by an Arsenal team that weren't that great. They weren't. That wasn't an amazing Arsenal performance. That was an Arsenal performance who were clinical in certain situations with the first goal, lucky with the second one, and quite resolute. And I'll say hats off to them for that defensively. I think a lot of people were questioning that Arsenal defence with the injuries they've got. They were quite solid in that department. Performances for me today that were maybe a little bit under par. I thought Bruno, second home game in a row, I didn't think against Southampton he was very good, and he said he wasn't. Today I didn't think he was great. I think when he isn't firing on all cylinders, as we saw when he was suspended earlier in the season, we lack that flair in midfield. Isak and Wilson, did it work? I'm going to stand here and say that I still prefer Isak as a striker, because I prefer Joe Linton and Willock on the left overlapping, because I think that causes a fullback so many problems. I think Isak can do a fantastic job on the left-hand side, but I'm still not sure, based off just what I've seen today, really. I'm not going to jump the gun with a huge statement and say I'm not so sure on that. Longstaff was a huge miss, and I think Longstaff will continue to be a huge miss. That's an area in the summer that we need to spend money on. That midfielder who's going to do all of the graft, all of the work that goes a little bit more unnoticed, and mop things up for the likes of Bruno to really turn it on. I thought defensively we maybe weren't as solid as what we have been in other games this season against the bigger teams, but generally speaking, as I've just said to those fans, and as they've said to me, there's still plenty to be happy about. We've just been beaten off a team that's been top of the league for most of the season. We go on to Leeds in Big Sam's first home game, in a huge game. We've got teams breathing down our necks. I wasn't as worried about Liverpool, but I am now, because they've got that momentum. Man United seem a little bit indifferent. They've got a big game against West Ham to come. Can we get that Champions League? I still think we can, because of them home games we have, and because of the fact away from home we've been pretty resolute as well. So I'm not writing us off in our away matches, neither with Chelsea and Leeds to come. And there's still plenty to be happy about. Very rare bad day at the office today to a degree, but the Premier League, sort out VAR. Get rid of this clear and obvious thing, because that's going to only allow these ridiculous decisions to be mulled over for 4 minutes. If it's looking on the camera like you're not sure, stick to your fucking decision, referee. And did Arsenal waste time today? Yeah, but I'm not going to stand here and talk about that, because we did it at their place in January. We've done it in lots of places. It's the dark arts that Arteta was whinging about. He's given us a taste of our own medicine, but the referee fell for it every time. And I think, generally speaking, the referee had a bad performance today, and that did not help us along the way. Onwards and upwards we go, Newcastle fans. It's Bank Holiday Sunday. We're in the top 4. Very rare bad day at the office today, but that Leeds game just looks that little bit more juicy. Keep the faith, Newcastle fans. I am going to Leeds. I'm just about to go and pick up my ticket, actually. So whack that subscribe if you've liked this match vlog, and I'll see you on the next one. How are the lads?
Oh,